Well, there were two officer-involved shootings overnight in Alaska.
Now, one in Fairbanks where a man died near Washington Avenue. The Fairbanks Police Department says that man had fired at officers with a semi-automatic rifle.
Another in Anchorage late last night. It started as a traffic stop, and police say the person killed had a gun near their lap. Now, this comes on the eve of the one-year mark since the first officer-involved shooting last year, and that one was the first time Anchorage police released body camera footage.
We have team coverage tonight looking at what happened both in Anchorage and the interior. We go first to Adrian Peterson in Fairbanks, where an officer-involved shooting resulted in a fatal shootout.
We should note that Adrian is along Washington Drive. That is where authorities were called in response to a domestic disturbance. Adrian, what can you tell us?
John, Rebecca, the Department of Public Safety says around 10:20 last night, officers responded to a scene of domestic disturbance here on Washington Drive when they were shot at upon arrival by 36-year-old Thomas Bean, a resident of Fairbanks. Troopers say the resulting shootout led to Bean being fatally struck, but it also left two FPD officers with minor injuries. At the residence where the shooting happened, authorities say they found the body of 29-year-old Jesse Bidgood, a North Pole resident who they believe was killed by Bean. The officers who fired their weapons have been placed on administrative leave as the Alaska Bureau of Investigation looks into the incident. That investigation will be reviewed by the Alaska Office of Special Prosecutions. In the meantime, we have 3 days before we discover the names of those who fired their weapons at the shooting. Adrian Peterson, Alaska's news source.
Now, in Anchorage, just before midnight last night, what started as a traffic stop ended with a person dead in the Mountain View area.
APD Chief Sean Case says this morning's news conference that he was not able to give as many details as he would typically.
Are you able to confirm that if anyone touched the gun at all?
It's difficult to see from the video, so that's why we've got to wait for the officers to be able to confirm what they saw.
Georgina Fernandez joins us now live from the scene of the shooting. Georgina.
John and Rebecca, it was near here last night where Anchorage police officers say that driver was pulled over after they say they had a headlight that was out. Now, according to that press conference earlier today, Police Chief Sean Case told us when officers approached the car, they saw a gun in the area of the driver's lap. According to Case, officers made verbal communication with the driver and the passenger who was also in the car. Then one of the officers shot and killed the driver. APD was not able to confirm with us today if anyone in the car touched the gun leading up to the shooting. One of the witnesses on the scene today was Lester Morgan, who lost his stepson, Tyler May, last June during an officer-involved shooting. Morgan tells us he heard one gunshot.
Less than 10 seconds, there was a squad car with its lights on coming this way. Maybe 1 or 2 seconds later, a squad car coming this way. And then maybe two dozen more squad cars come within the next 2 minutes. But all I heard was a gunshot. I heard no verbal commands. There was no altercation. There was no argument. I did not hear anything about drop a weapon, anything like that.
Now, according to Anchorage Police Department, they tell us allegations of wrongdoing or misconduct are serious, and officer-involved shootings are investigated thoroughly, openly, and with full accountability. And Case did tell us that we should be getting more information regarding this officer-involved shooting within the next week. Rebecca, John.
Thank you, Georgina. We want you to take a look at this map here. This is the Anchorage Police Department, and those shootings, there were more than a dozen people in Anchorage in the last 365 days happened. Now, 8 of these people are locations of those shootings. Officers in every one of those Anchorage cases was deemed legally justified by the Office of Special Prosecutions. Lauren Maxwell tells us it was exactly a year ago today that Anchorage police shot and killed 34-year-old Christopher Handy outside a Sand Lake apartment complex.
Now, one of those officer-involved shootings happened exactly 1 year ago today, as Rebecca just said. And Lauren Maxwell tells us 34-year-old Christopher Handy was shot and killed by APD outside of a Sand Lake apartment complex. That was May 13th, 2024. Lauren?
Yeah, Jen, and importantly, this was also the first officer-involved shooting that was captured on APD's new body cameras. But even that didn't stop disputes about what happened. Police originally claimed that Handy came out of the complex and pointed a rifle at officers before he was shot. But this door cam video released by a neighbor just days after the shooting didn't show Handy raising the gun. Now, Handy's parents demanded to see the body cam video. They were frustrated when they couldn't see it right away.
We, the people, should be able to look at anything at any time that they have. There should be transparency.
My worries is that the public will not know what's going on and it'll continue to happen.
More than 2 months after the shooting, police released a highly edited video of the incident. 2 weeks later, they released the raw footage.
And Lauren, do we know what is the policy right now?
Well, with certain exceptions, APD says that the video will be released 45 days after the incident. And it also says that family members of the person who died will be able to view it before the general public.
All right, Lauren, thank you. Well, the Department of Public Safety has identified the officer who shot and injured a woman during a welfare check in Wasilla Friday night.
And that officer is Cody Haley. He's been an Alaska State Trooper for 8 months. Haley responded to the Meadow Lakes area to perform a welfare check. DPS says when he arrived, a woman in the home pointed what appeared to be a gun at the officer during that encounter when shots were fired. Now, police say what the woman was holding turned out to be a BB gun that did not have an orange tip, indicating it's not a real firearm. The woman is still in the hospital and has not been charged with the crime. Trooper Haley is on administrative leave while the Alaska Bureau of Investigation handles the case.
How to keep track of the newest information on all of these 3 officer-involved shootings, please visit our website.
Any developments will be updated in each of our stories on our website as they continue to come out and more information is released.
Well, in Juneau tonight, a House amended capital budget in the form of Senate Bill 57 is now heading back to Senate lawmakers. The House passed SB 57 2119 today, setting it up for a future concurrence vote in the Senate. It's a nearly $2.9 billion plan that advanced by a slim margin, with House Speaker Bryce Edgmond saying, in part, that Alaska's fiscal reality meant this had to be a restrained budget. The concurrence vote could happen as early as tomorrow, though a precise timeline isn't yet clear.
And House lawmakers will consider a bill that could end daylight saving time in Alaska. Senate Bill 26 advanced the House after passing the Senate this week. The House State Affairs Committee takes up the legislation, which petitions the United States Department of Transportation to exempt Alaska from daylight saving time, as well as to change the time zones here. Now, if passed, Alaska would be in the same time zone as Seattle from the fall to early spring, and then would be 1 hour behind the rest of the year. Now, on the federal level, Congress is also considering a bill related to daylight saving time. That legislation would allow permanent daylight saving time across the country. In that case, Alaska would still be 1 hour behind Seattle year-round. And this is the first week of 24-hour daylight on the slope and more than 17 hours of daylight in Anchorage.
But how much of the sun will we see? Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry joins us now to let us know.
Yeah, we are. It depends on where you are, but that sun definitely breaking through in a lot more places tonight compared to what we saw last night with that storm pushing through southern Alaska. Up into the interior, we're seeing a little bit of cloud cover, but some blue sky and sunshine still peeking through. Temperatures in the mid-50s. And again, clouds still hanging out in south central, but seeing enough breaks. You can see that sunshine there off into the distance. Also sitting at 52 degrees here this evening. So while we're sitting in a break between storms, we already have another one on the way. As we zoom out into the Pacific, you can see that next round of cloud cover. That's going to bring rain into Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. Heading overnight, we'll see those rain showers moving into the coastal areas of south central and then into southeast here in the next about 18 hours. So again, if you're in those areas highlighted in green, that's where the rain is headed. Be prepared for it in Homer, Seward, into Prince William Sound and pushing into southeast tomorrow. But otherwise, dry conditions still likely likely for Kenai, for Anchorage, all the way up into the interior and for the entire northern half of the state, holding on to dry and clear conditions here over the next several days. We will see again those increasing clouds with that storm approaching in Anchorage, temperatures in the low 50s. Can't rule out a quick isolated shower even here later this evening, but anything we get will move along very quickly. Fairbanks, it's mostly sunny, back up close to 60 degrees for you tomorrow. We'll see those showers extending into southeast in the second half of the day. Mostly dry in Bethel, but seeing mostly cloudy conditions and those highs in the low 50s. And I'll have a closer look at the rest of that statewide forecast here in a few minutes.
All right, looking forward to that. Thank you, Melissa. And when you want the latest forecasts as well as current conditions from across the state, check out our 24/7 Alaska Weather channel. Super easy to find on our website and our free streaming apps. Just click the Live tab and choose the second option for 24/7 Alaska Weather.
Still ahead, the death of a teen and the arrest of the man linked to the crime.
I'll tell you what affected family members and what they're saying as the court case unfolds and a jury trial is set.
A man facing murder charges in connection with the death of a Wasilla teenager appeared in court today for his arraignment.
Investigative reporter Johnson Kuhn was at the Palmer Courthouse for that arraignment, and he joins us now with details.
After his preliminary hearing was vacated on Monday, 45-year-old Sean Mobley heard the charges being brought against him today for allegedly providing 16-year-old Elena Tonis with the fentanyl that the state says led to her fatal overdose in November. Mobley appearing in court today, who in addition to facing second-degree murder is also being charged with manslaughter and first-degree misconduct involving a controlled substance. Prosecutors say after providing Tonis with the fentanyl, he abandoned her on a power line trail in Wasilla as she was having an overdose. Charging documents say that in addition to the overdose, hypothermia was also a contributing factor, as it is believed she was still alive at the time she was left on the trail. Elena's cousin saying while she's pleased to see forward momentum in the case, the family still feels they're a long ways from justice for Elena.
Justice for me is knowing that another child isn't going to be taken from another family, knowing that this is going to get off the streets and at least one more person isn't going to be out there hurting another family as much as we are going to be hurting.
Mobley's bail was set at $750,000 and a trial was scheduled to begin on July 7th. Johnson Kuhn, Alaska's news source.
And coming up after the break, I'm going to show you where snow was falling this morning in Alaska. And I'll, of course, have a detailed look at that 7-day forecast. But first, take a look at your daylight hours for today. Sun setting tonight, 10:37 in Anchorage, 11:03 in Fairbanks, just a tad earlier in Juneau, and a tad later in Bethel.